Hello, how are you? Oh, good. Yes, I'm very well. Thank you for asking. My name is Robert Lane. I'm a musician, guitar teacher, and actor based in the UK. And in this video today, I want to talk about something that all creative people, and probably all people in general, will encounter and have to deal with and have to embrace, and that is rejection and failure. Now, before we get into it, can I ask you please to subscribe to this channel, like the video, comment on it, share it with your friends and everyone you know, because doing all of that stuff just helps more people to find the videos in the future. It makes the algorithms really happy, and we can build this community and hopefully get some conversations going on these topics. All right, so as a creative, I'm a musician and an actor, songwriter, those sorts of things, and I'm very aware, and I've been thinking about recently, rejection and success and failure. I also have a podcast that I've been doing for the last couple of months where I talk to creative people about creativity and their careers and working in the arts. And one of the things I always find interesting is to ask them their views on things like reviews and failure and rejection. And there's a few things that have come up that I think would be useful. I found them useful myself to think about, and you might find them useful also. So the first thing is, when you create things, if you want people to see them and you put them out there, they're going to have a certain amount of rejection. You're going to have people who don't like it. You're going to have people who don't get it. Now, when I first started out doing creative pursuits, I kind of had this idea that I would want to make something that was so good that it was objectively good. And nobody could ever look at it and say, "Oh, I don't like that, it's rubbish, there's no quality to that, that song's no good, that performance is no good." But of course, you pretty quickly realise that nothing's like that in the world, and particularly artistic things. Think about some of your favourite musicians or actors or writers, and how much you love them and how wonderful you think they are. And you must have friends, family and whatever who don't see it at all. They just can't get their head around why you are so keen on that particular person, and vice versa. Your friends must have a favourite musician or an artist who you just like, wow. Or you hear someone on the radio and you can't understand why they're on the radio, or you see an actor winning all the awards and you can't get your head around why that person is getting the awards for a performance that you thought was no good. That is normal. That is all part of the joy of sharing this planet with all these other human beings that are on it. And it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? It's everything. I think about it this way. Think of yourself as a business. You could be making the greatest toilet paper, the greatest toilet roll that you could possibly ever make, and it's a million times better, in your view, than all of your competitors. But there are always going to be people who prefer the competitors. They've tried your brand, they don't like it. Maybe they haven't even tried it, and they don't want to know. And you've got to realise that person was never going to be your customer. And it doesn't matter. Focus on the people who are going to be your customers. In fact, the sooner you get someone who doesn't get it and isn't going to be your customer, think, brilliant, I can get rid of them and move on to somebody who might be a customer. And I find that really liberating in terms of artistic pursuits, because if I put something out there, and even if the majority of people don't like it or don't get it, I can now look at it and say, okay, that's fine, because the small percentage of people who do get it really get it. And I will serve them, and I will make things for them as well as for myself. I won't try and please people who are never going to be my customer, because they're never going to be my customer. And it's perfectly possible now to have a real loyal following that's quite small, but can help sort of fund your future endeavours and your lifestyle. That's a different conversation that comes up sometimes when I'm talking on the podcast as well. I might do a video about that in the future. So yeah, that's the first thing. Not everybody is going to be your customer, and if someone isn't your customer, that's great. I was speaking to a quite successful YouTuber about this sort of stuff, and a lot of people, I think, when they're starting out, particularly with things like social media and YouTube, are frightened of putting content out, because what if they get a bad reaction? What if people say nasty things? What if I get people trolling me? And this person said something quite enlightening. She loves it when people don't like what she's doing, because that extreme reaction means that she's doing something worth talking about. And for all the extreme reactions, there's going to be positive reactions. It's when it's just no reaction, or it's kind of meh, when you don't get much of a comment, or you just get a, yeah, that's nice. If it doesn't elicit a reaction either way out of people, then perhaps you're not doing something that's interesting enough. So she was of the opinion that you should embrace all those bad reactions, because you're going to get the opposite reactions as well. Of course, it's human nature sometimes to focus on the bad reactions. If you're playing a gig and everyone's really loving it, but one person gets up to go to the toilet just in the middle of your guitar solo, you're going to focus on that one person. If you put a book out and all of the Amazon reviews are brilliant apart from the one, you're going to be really focused on that one bad review. That's human nature, isn't it? That's the way it goes. We've all got to develop our own techniques for dealing with that side of our personality. But you want to be creating reactions from people. You want to be serving an audience, you want to be creating reactions, and if your audience is small and the majority of people don't get it, that's fine, as I mentioned earlier. So there's two things. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to go on a songwriting retreat hosted by one of my great heroes, Sir Ray Davies, the songwriter and the frontman from the Kinks. Now, this guy has written songs like Waterloo Sunset. You really imagine writing "You've Really Got Me." Like, that's just a song that sounds like it's always existed and it's just part of our DNA. But this guy actually sat and created that piece of music. Amazing songs, amazing songwriter, one of the greatest songwriters of the 20th century. And he said something very enlightening. He said, "Don't be afraid to fail. The Kinks failed more than any of the bands in our generation, and that's a compliment." Now, that took some thinking about, because, they're a legendary act and so successful. But actually, if you compare them to some of their contemporaries, maybe it's true. Maybe some of the projects they tried didn't come off. And it's very unusual. In fact, I don't think it ever happens for any artist that everything they do just works straight away, first time. Everyone has failures. And again, why not embrace those failures? Why not get things wrong? Because the more you get through the wrong stuff, the closer you get to the good things. Yeah, that's my thoughts on this sort of stuff. And a lot of that comes from talking to people about it, as well as my own approach to this kind of thing. But I'd like to know what you think. How do you go along with this stuff? What's your opinion on rejections and failures? By rejections, of course, I also mean just stuff like contacting people for a gig. If you're a musician, that thing of you got to send out 100 emails to maybe have 2 or 3 positive replies. But if you didn't send out the 100 emails, you wouldn't get the positive replies. I think it's quite easy for people to try something for a bit and think this ain't working and give up a bit prematurely. Hey, there we go. So let me know in the comments or send me a message what you think and how you approach this stuff. Share these videos. I'm really interested to know people's thoughts on it. If you want to find out more about the podcast, or I'm talking to creative people, seek out the Robert Lane Creative Careers podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify. You can also find it on my website, which is robertlanemusic.co.uk, where you can, of course, hear all my music and read about the projects that I'm working on. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, goodbye.